So I'll try it this way because I can't stand in front of the podium. So my name is Omnia Ahmed. I'm a senior lecturer at the University of Doha for Science and Technology. And I don't know how, but I'm now in my third year of PhD. Time have really passed. Thank you. You can hear me there at the back? Okay. So this is my third chapter, turned into a paper for a theoretical foundation or a framework of what I've been doing so far. I want you to imagine with me like two separate factories, where they are both oil and gas industry. They are polluting our environment, degrading everything, every resource that we're using. And they are basically sucking up every resource that next generations will need. Out there on the door, there are people who are screaming and pressuring them, and whether they're NGOs, they're institutional investors, or there's regulations of governments, but my focus in non-government organizations. But you find the two factories have different management with different perspectives. Some of them would actually sit down in a room so cool and decide to issue a report, a glossy report, and says, here's our CSR practices, take two photos in a journal or a newspaper, and say, we are really doing better. This is called symbolic reaction, or symbolic improvements of environmental behavior. Thank you, I appreciate it. Okay, just give me 1 second. Now, the second one takes it actually seriously and says, we really have to do improvements, but improvements cost money. It actually costs a lot of money to be more environmentally friendly. You're gonna have to change your operations. You're gonna have to invest in green innovations. You're gonna have to do waste management. And that's a lot of money and a lot of work and a lot of effort. So research so far didn't show us who does what. And why? Why does the same NGO pressure lead to different results in different institutions? My focus is on oil and gas, but this actually happens across all industries. Is my clicker okay? Okay, thank you. So what we know so far, that stakeholders create pressure and governance shapes the incentives. But do they have the incentive to become better or not? It depends on one factor that we're going to talk about. Then firms start to disclosing sustainability. But what we don't know is why identical pressure would result in different behaviors in different companies. And is when disclosure becomes symbolic, and when does it become substantive? And then how governance work as a role in this area. So my question is, we don't really have an integrated explanation that links all of these together, and that's what I'm trying to do. So how does the ownership structure condition the effect of stakeholder pressure on environmental commitment? In English, this means when do they respond this way, and when do they respond the other way? That's the question. Now, when I say symbolic, I mean fancy things. I mean they will have nice sustainability reports. They will have narratives, nice stories, media coverage. They will hire a PR guy that wears a nice suit, and he will be everywhere in the newspaper. That's what I mean by symbolic. Now, substantive means a whole different area. So we're not really managing impressions, or what we call impression management in the industry. We're not really highlighting CSR practices. We're actually doing the work. We're doing emission reduction. We're doing green innovation. We're doing resource efficiency. This is substantive performance improvements for the environment. So when do they do this? Now, I will put something in the middle. So my paper is about a framework of different theories that are combined together to explain this behavior. So I want you to think with me of these as like a puzzle of 4 theories coming together to explain the main idea. Number 1 is the stakeholder theory. So stakeholder explains the pressure. Why? So NGOs, based on stakeholder theory, would exert pressure, scrutiny, and a lot of PR campaigns and in different ways on these governments for them to improve their environmental outcomes. Now, the next one would be agency theory. Agency theory would say, agency theory depends on what? managers are supposed to work for us, right? Owners are something, managers are something. When their best interest is different than the company's best interest, then something happens, and we call it a conflict of interest. So do they have the incentive to do this or not? Are they under pressure of making better performance financially? Do they look at short term instead of long term? This is incentive. So agency theory would explain whether they have incentives or not. So we have different types of ownership, that each of them will have different type of incentive. Now, legitimacy theory is basically how we want to appear. We want to have a license to operate at the end. Every oil and gas company wants to have a license to operate within the environment because it's a shared right. So disclosure strategy and impression management would come here to explain it. Now, lastly, I don't want to forget their ability. They might have nice incentives to do this, but do they have the money, the people, the capacity? Here where RBV comes, resource-based view. Do they actually have enough resources to do the required improvement that the NGOs are pressuring them to do it or not? That's the main question here. So these four come together as a theoretical building block that I built together to explain this. But why does ownership matter? Why? There's a lot of factors. Someone might ask me, governance has lots of factors. Why did you choose ownership structure? Ownership really plays a big role. I've read literature, and it says that it's about how much they're monitored. So who monitors government, really? Government monitors others. It's very hard to monitor government. You have to be, this is why NGO is my choice. So everyone is under the lens. So monitoring, how heavily are they monitored? That's one thing. Number two is the time horizon. Are they looking at short-term profits? They are under pressure to maintain a specific ROI and profit margin and so on. So we don't have time to look at substantive changes. It's a lot of sunk cost. It's a lot of, let's throw this way of doing things and let's get a better, healthier, greener way. Okay. The risk tolerance. Family ownership, they don't like to take much risk. They have emotional and they have attachments to their own money. They don't want to take big risks and reinvestments. Investment priorities and resource allocation and public scrutiny as well. So all of these are, how much are they exposed to public scrutiny and reputation, and how much do they care about it? So types of ownership will dictate this. If it's a state-owned firm, they will have different perspective, long-term perspective. They will look like they don't want to actually be held accountable by NGOs. So a lot of research say they will actually do, and they have the resources to do it, so they will make substantive commitments. While others, institutional investors, they are looking for short-term profit, but they are very heavily monitored and pressured by NGOs. So that would differ. And then family-owned firms, we said they don't like to risk their money. Now, dispersed shareholder, imagine 100,000 people, every them with $100 worth of stock. Who would travel all the way to a meeting every year to see how managers are actually doing? So they're not really heavily monitored. So this would be dispersed ownership. That's what I want to study. The different forms of ownership. How are they receiving this pressure, and how are they reacting differently to this pressure? This is my infographic. I hope you like it. So this is what we're trying to explain. This tunnel says NGO pressure is in. Internet governance is like the filter. So are we really doing real innovations and real changes, or are we only doing symbolic changes? And that will depend on the type of ownership. You can see here. It's a detailed one, but I thought it might really wrap up what we said so far. Symbolic disclosures or actual disclosure. Can you move me because I'm stuck? Can you guide me to the next one? Thank you. So how am I going to measure that? Next chapters, inshallah. My next paper would be how I'm getting activism scores and NGO pressure scores from independent databases and companies, and ownership data as the filter. And then I'm looking at whether it's a symbolic one by measuring what? Symbolic would mean we're really disclosing really well, while substantive would mean a real environmental score. So they're really doing good on operations, not just on disclosure, because disclosure doesn't equal performance. So this is my theoretical contribution. Am I out of time? Okay. So I am contributing to reframing NGO pressure, conditional but not universal, and how's this the main input? I'm explaining disclosure performance diversions. Why are they different this way? And I'm also providing sector-specific theory with integrating 4 theoretical lenses to explain this phenomena and integrating multiple theories into one causal one, causality one. So that would inform regulators, investors, and managers in different ways in the roles. I'm out of breath. Future research would really benefit that to looking at the gaps. This could be extended to other industries. As I said, disclosure or symbolic versus substantive really applies to many sectors. Oil and gas is heavily monitored because of how much they are really damaging the environment or doing ecological damage to us. So extension to that, longitudinal studies. I'm studying the past 10 years to the best of what I can, cross-country comparison, and empirical testing of moderation effect. Thank you so much.